Hi everybody, my name is Ilyana. My dad used to work at a company that made printers. He lost his job when the company went bankrupt. He had been working there since graduating from college. He spent 17 years there. It was the only job he ever had. He applied for similar jobs, but nobody would hire him. He ended up getting depressed. He sat around in the living room all day watching TV. His relationship with my mom deteriorated. They started fighting all the time. The atmosphere at home was really bad. When my dad lost his job, he got severance pay. When that money ran out, my parents started to have trouble making ends meet. My mom has 2 brothers. I'd only met her younger brother maybe half a dozen times. I didn't even know what he did for a living, just that he was really well off. When my mom became desperate, she called him and asked him to help find my dad a job. He said, "Have him come to my office tomorrow. I have just the job for him." When she said this over dinner, my dad said, "I will have to go, but I don't trust him. He never helps anyone unless there's something in it for himself." They never told us what job my uncle offered my dad. But my dad started leaving home early in the morning and coming back late at night. I asked my mom, "Has Dad started working?" She said, "He will soon, but he's going to work from home. Right now, he's making preparations for that. Don't tell anyone about it." I didn't understand why my mom said that. What kind of secret work was my dad going to be doing? That weekend, something funny happened. My mom said to my brother and me, "Do not come out of your room tonight, no matter what happens." I asked, "What if we have to use the bathroom? We can't come out even then?" She gave me a serious look and said, "Ilyana, this is really important. You are not to leave your room." I didn't want to go to sleep that night so I could figure out what was happening. I pressed my ear to the floor. I heard a lot of footsteps. I could hear people talking, but I couldn't make out anything they were saying. I stayed up until 3:30 in the morning. The sounds from downstairs had petered out. I couldn't stay awake anymore, so I fell asleep. Why were there so many people around that night? Who were they? Did they bring something? I had so many questions, but I couldn't ask my parents because I didn't want them to find out I stayed up and eavesdropped. Even though my dad was working from home, we were barely seeing him. My mom said that he was working nights and sleeping during the day, but something was off. We didn't know what his job was. I tried asking my mom. She wouldn't give me a straight answer. She just said, "It's something similar to his old job." I couldn't ask my dad because even though he was working again, he still looked depressed. He used to joke around all the time. He loved making us laugh. Now he had become a completely different man, and I missed my old dad very much. The only positive thing was that we were doing better financially. Around that time, the school year ended and summer vacation began. One morning, my brother said to me, "Can you get my bike out of the basement?" I said, "Why don't you do it yourself? Why are you asking me?" He blushed. He was embarrassed. "The basement is so dark. I know there's nothing to be scared of, but I'm still scared. Please don't mock me." I knew he couldn't help it because I am still terrified of clowns. "Okay, let's go and save your bike from the monsters in the basement," I said. He said, "Hey, I told you not to mock me." I said, okay, I was just kidding, and started walking. He followed me. To get into the basement, we first had to go outside. The entrance was at the back of the house. I couldn't remember the last time I went down there. I didn't think there was anything important there other than my brother's bike anyway. That's why I was sure my parents hadn't gone down there in a long time. I was so surprised when we got to the door because there was a keypad lock on the wall next to it. I pushed the door. It didn't budge. Normally this door is never locked, but now it was. And here was this keypad lock. We needed a passcode to enter our basement now? This was the craziest thing I'd ever seen in my life. When I touched one of the buttons, the screen said, "Enter the 4-digit passcode." I asked my brother, "What do you think the passcode is?" "I have no idea," he answered. I decided to try some numbers. First, I entered my brother's birth year. Didn't work. Then I tried mine. That didn't work either. How about Mom's? When I typed in her birth year, I set off a really loud alarm. Of course, we panicked. Apparently, the alarm was set to go off after 3 unsuccessful attempts. A few moments later, the basement door opened. There were 2 men whom I'd never seen before. Did they work with my dad? Since my dad was asleep at the moment, what were these guys doing there by themselves? They were relieved to see us. The one with the beard asked, "Are you Mr. Bradford's kids?" We nodded. My brother said, I got my bike down in the basement. We just wanted to pick it up." He said, "Stay right there. I'll grab it for you." That's how we found out there was something strange going on in our basement. I told my brother, "Wait here for your bike. I'm going to talk to Mom." My mom was out. When she came back, I told her what happened. "I should have told you. The basement is your father's office now. Those people you saw are two of his colleagues," she said. "But what are they doing in the basement?" I asked. Mom said, "I told you. They are working. Don't go back there." Just as she said that, I noticed the ring on her finger. I said, "Mom, is that new? Is that a diamond?" My mom involuntarily pulled her hand away and hid it behind her back. She said, "No, it's not a real diamond. It's fake." Then she quickly got up and walked away. I didn't think that was a fake diamond. If it were fake, she wouldn't be so nervous. She would show it to me like it was no big deal. So now we had the money to buy such expensive jewelry? Now I was even more curious about my father's new job. But I had no way of finding out what was going on. Meanwhile, our family was getting richer. My parents got themselves expensive SUVs. All the furniture in the house was replaced. A new phone, a tablet, a computer. My mom got us whatever we wanted. We were seriously rich now, but for some reason we were still living in the same old house. It was really not very nice. Why did we not move out? Did it have something to do with what my dad was doing in the basement, the job I still knew nothing about? Early one morning, the truth came out. I finally found out what was being done in the basement. It was a huge shock for all of us. That day, our life turned upside down. I said earlier that my dad worked for a company manufacturing printers for 17 years. He was an expert in printing technologies. Do you know what my uncle offered my dad since he was aware of his expertise? Printing counterfeit money. Yes, unfortunately, my dad was printing fake banknotes in our basement. The men my brother and I had met were in charge of distributing the fake money around the country. In order not to attract attention, they were printing $20 bills, which no one checks. My uncle was already making a living from illegal activities. He wanted to make even more money by going into the counterfeiting business using my dad's expertise. And that's exactly what happened. Both my dad and him made a lot of money from it. The police raided our basement and caught my dad and the guys he worked with red-handed. My brother came to my room. Of course, we couldn't go out. We found out what happened afterwards. It's really interesting how this all came about. After picking up his bike, my brother found two $20 bills stuck to each other outside the basement. The men probably dropped them as they were carrying out the counterfeit money. My brother didn't realize the money was fake and used it to buy ice cream. The ice cream seller became suspicious looking at the bills. He noticed that the ink on one of them was still wet. That's how we figured out they were fake and asked my brother where he got them. Then he called the cops. The police surveilled our house for a while. After the raid that night, my dad, my uncle, and 15 more people were arrested. They're all in jail right now. There's both a fine and jail time for this kind of crime. They seized everything from our house, too. We're staying with my grandparents. Our life was completely upended. No matter how desperate my dad was, he never should have gone into something like this. I'm so mad at my mom, too, because she let it happen. Now our family is broken. I know that they did this for us as much as they did it for themselves, but I still don't think I can forgive them.